Hello, and welcome to another episode of Be the Love to Awaken Our Souls. Thank you so much again for tuning in this week. I am Stacy Musial.
And I am Brenda Carey. We are your co hosts and souls on the journey. We are on a mission to raise the consciousness of humans and the planet, and we need your help. Please spread the word to your family and friends and join us every week. Consider becoming a Patreon supporter or a sponsor to help with the operating costs like editing and the many, many hours we spend creating these shows with quality guests and content. And if you have resonated with our mission, support us in a way that raises your vibration to love.
And if it feels safe for you, I'd like to invite you to begin to get centered with us. I'd like to begin by inviting you to take a beautiful cleansing breath in through your nose and out through your mouth, releasing anything that is keeping you from being present. And take another deep breath in through your nose, breathing in calm, peaceful, loving energy, and breathing out anything you are ready to release. And take one more breath in through your nose, breathing in light and love for yourself. And imagine breathing that light and love and send it back to all of humanity, remembering that you always, always have your breath to come back to.
Well, a big happy new year to our listeners. We are continuing our conversation around new beginnings and a new year, but diving a little bit deeper into aligning our visions. So if you didn't catch our last episode, which aired January 2nd, we talked a lot about just the new year and what that brings and a new vision and creating either a theme or a word for your year, or perhaps a sankalpa statement, which is your heart's deepest desire. And it's a vow to your highest wisdom or highest self. And so if you didn't get a chance, please listen to that previous episode. But today, and even if you haven't listened to that episode, you can still tune into this one. But today we're taking it even a little bit more into, okay, so if I have a theme for the year, or just kind of playing with a theme or a word or a sankalpa statement, now what? Like, now what do I do with it? You may have specific dreams or goals. Maybe you do make resolutions for the year and you've just started figuring out how is this going to work on a daily or a weekly basis. And how does our theme or sankalpa for the year really help us kind of clarify our values and just to know what is that going to look like on a daily basis?
It's so, so important, to really get clear on these things. It's one thing to have that, what we would call a resolution, or a theme, right? But like, how do we really connect with that theme or some sankalpa, that word, because we can drive, in our life. But if we don't have a map, if we don't have purpose and feeling behind that, it makes it really hard to know why and, what's going to help us get up in the morning to really feel into what our true purpose is. And so one of the things that I wanted to share about today too is I've been creating what I would call a vision book for the year. And I title it A Life Worth Loving because it is a life that I want to love. It's not something that I'm being pulled around by, outside influences. It's something that I am dedicating to creating because we create our life, right? We can either choose to be a victim of our circumstances and get pulled by that, or we can stand in our truth. And when we stand in our truth and our purpose, we truly can be the creators of our own reality.
Yes, I totally agree. I am always saying to many of my clients, we are powerful
Hmm.
co-creators with universe, and I don't think we give ourselves enough credit as to how empowering that is. And I also wanted to include, I love your idea of having a life worth loving and having a book, something tangible to like really write it down and get a little bit more specific. Because so often when I very first started creating sankalpas for myself, it was just like this nice idea, but it didn't really go anywhere. I mean, I would kind of use it as an intention or a mantra during meditation if it was just one word like I am peace or I am worthy. I worked a lot with worthiness in the year of 2022. But until I actually gave it some form and some direction and aligning it with values and even a mission statement, it just kind of stayed in this space element of, oh, it's a nice idea, uh, but it wasn't really practical. So this episode, we're definitely going to dive deep into how we can make our big ideas and dreams and themes for the year and break it down and look at different areas of life and how it can really support us in, yeah, creating a life we absolutely love.
Absolutely. And to start out with that is, for me, which has been really helpful, is to get really clear on my life purpose. And that might not always, I mean, it's an unending unfolding, right? To discover what your purpose is. And it's also this beautiful question we can ask ourselves, like, what fills us up? What is our mission in life? What is our greatest desire to, of what we want to create on the inside? And then how we want to show up in the world. What is our contribution? Because that is a really important piece is, how our mission is going to impact the greater world because we all have an impact on the world, whether or not we realize it. And that, I believe, oftentimes comes down to a sense of worthiness or feeling like we make a difference, right? And so we have to, start to work on some of those underlying belief systems that maybe have said, well, I don't know what this purpose is, but really, it's a meditation. It's a sitting with that purpose. So creating your life purpose, letting it unfold, my life purpose has been unfolding, well, since I was born.
As
But
all of us, yep.
but like really like getting clear on what I'm here to do and what lights me up, and feeling that I'm in flow. Because when I'm in flow, things continue to happen and create when I know I'm in my life purpose, and that's what I'm here to do. And so the life purpose and then my outer mission, and that can be similar to the life purpose, but different because it's, yeah, how do you want to impact the world, right? And like what fills you up and how you want to contribute your energy to the outer world. And then there's the inner world, the inner mission, right? And so what is it? How are you coming to a soul level and what are you here to experience for yourself? And how are you walking in alignment with that so that your inner mission is also a reflection of the outer mission? It's such
Yeah.
a beautiful, beautiful process.
I love that. I love the inner mission statement. That's a great clarification because I think oftentimes we think a mission statement as being like this outer external experience when really I think, at least for me, I have to be led from my heart and really tune into the feelings of, okay, what feels like where I want to prioritize my values. Because as I am gracefully aging, I think the years go by faster. And so if
Mm-hmm.
I don't have a direction with my values being like family and friends and those things that I put at the very top
Mm-hmm.
of the list and driven by an inner mission, which I support with all the ways that I love to learn and what really lights me up, I get to the end of a month, a year, several years, and I'm like, what happened? Like, what did I just do? And so without having, like you mentioned, a compass or a map, and then my goals kind of lead me in the direction of my sankalpa statement.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm curious, Stacy, you mentioned at the very beginning your vision book and your life worth loving. Let's dive into that. Like, what are your categories? I have certain buckets of mine that I put into, but I'm curious about yours.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, as I've, said, I get really clear on my life's purpose, my outer mission, my inner mission, and then my personal mission statement. And so it's all getting clear, and so they all build on each other. But then you mentioned values, so that is a part of this book as well. By the way, my book is about, 8 pages long, all typed out. And so it's really it's very elaborate. Because I find that just take the time into something so, important. This is our lives we're talking about, right? We're here, and why not take time and put a lot of energy and working toward that. So yeah, values. I have my values because when I'm living in alignment with my values, that's where my soul is happiest, and when I find myself out of alignment, I start to get anxious or, down, or feel heavy. And so it's really important for me to really come back to these values. And so and then I will put my sankalpa in there, right? So my sankalpa is just a one phrase, that kind of sums everything up for the year. And so my mission statement doesn't tend to change too much because it's been pretty consistent unless, things change. But I feel that like it's been pretty consistent with where I'm going in my life and what my soul is wanting. But the Sankalpa is something that tends to ebb and flow with each year. And so I will kind of change that as needed. Although this last year, it actually stayed pretty consistent because I'm still working on the same theme for that. But then I'll also choose words for the year. And so my words will be within that. So then there's even a more connected or focused intention for that year. And then I'll break it down into, okay, so how are my top visions for this next year going to manifest? What do I want to focus on that will truly get me to where I want to be? And so right now I have, about 9 top visions. And that can be in in any area of life. And so I break it down, into different areas, which will include, health and fitness, spirituality, relationships, financial, this podcast, Be the Love podcast, what are the goals for that? I even have, authorship, like, when I'm in the mode of wanting to write a book, contribution, how do I want to contribute, to different things? So that might be, to different nonprofit organizations or volunteer work or whatever that is. And then my career. And then fun thing, I have, okay, well, what do I want to do for fun? Right? Because
Right. I
that
feel like
is,
Yeah, I feel like sometimes like when I start talking about like my goals and people are like, "Man, you're kind of ambitious. I don't know about that." It like seems super serious. And I'm like, "No, actually I like because I love the work that I do, it doesn't feel like a
it's
drag or
not
anything
work.
like that." Yeah, I actually find a lot of joy in it, but I also
Hmm.
understand for some people they're like, "Ooh, that's intense."
Yeah.
So I always have like things for fun, like that
Mhm.
don't necessarily have a particular direction. A lot of it is something new to learn because I find as I am gracefully aging, I've said that twice now, uh, people are going to think I'm like 100 years old, but I'm not. But it's good for me to learn new things.
Hmm.
Even if it is something like a simple technology platform or something, but
Hmm.
to have something new to keep my brain active, and it's good medicine, I think. But yeah,
Absolutely.
I'm all for having fun listed as a part of our values, and that looks different from person to person,
Hmm.
but for sure, having
Yeah,
fun.
I think it's so important. I mean, obviously, like to to include that in our goals and our vision for the year, right? And so what are some things I want to experience, whether it's new or, things I've done before, things I love, like I want to go backpacking, 3 times this year. That's like, I didn't get to go last year for whatever reason. I had a lot of things going on, but like, that's my goal this year. I want to, I love to get out in nature. I want to, put that on there. And so I'm going to make sure that those things happen. And then things that are important to me are like travel and freedom. And so I'll list out the places that I will and plan on traveling to. And so, and then I'll also list out, okay, well, what books or programs are going to support where I want to be at the end of the year.
Yeah.
And I always have a pretty hefty book list.
So do I.
So, I put them all down and I, if I check out, like last year, I think I read probably about 8 of the books I put down, whether or not they were on Audible or in, paperback. I was able to get through, probably 8 out of 20, and so it's also there's ebb and flow. If there's a book that comes out, doesn't mean I always have to go off the list because there's maybe something that's calling me that I hadn't known about. But it's also, I ask myself, is this in alignment with, my vision for the year?
I think that's probably the most helpful part. Like when I do really start breaking down the goals in the different, like personal health and fitness is always, definitely an area, but I'll start going through, I'm like, okay, is this health program that I'm considering or book or podcast that I want to read or listen to, is this in alignment? Like, does it feel like it's going in the same direction, as I usually base it off my sankalpa statement because that's very heart-centered. And that's a very it's what we'd call like a very feminine perspective of how to, walk in this world. And when we get down into goals and how am I going to do it in like 3 backpack trips a year and how am I going to break that down, which is great. We need a balance of both, but that's the more masculine energy. That's like, okay, let's get the mind to work and, figure out, okay, yes, I'm definitely going to do this health program because it's in alignment with my more heart-centered feminine wisdom of my sankalpa statement. So as we're talking through this, I'm just kind of like having the listeners sort of follow our train of thought, because I think for some, this might be like a really new concept. But having a more heart-centered theme, sankalpa, whatever you want to call it, and then keep diving deeper.
Yes, thank you for bringing that up because I think that's an important piece, because we are in our culture really taught to be in that masculine mindset of we need to go focus on our goals. This is what we are going to accomplish. And, and it's really very, it's very masculine, right? And so,
and I'm just going to add, most people, and I don't know what the exact statistic is, give up on their goals and resolutions. I mean, I think it's like last time I read it was around 50% by the end of January and like 80% by the end of February. So obviously when we create these very I would say masculine generated goals where it's just about doing and not about the being and the feeling, they don't last long.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. No, it's so true because when we get into the feeling of what is this, going to create, like how we're embodying the feelings of what we're manifesting. And, that's going to create the flow, right? That's a very feminine principle, which is, another reason why I think it's so important to, add in fun and how can we, create our goals in a fun, flowing way that is going to feel good, and part of my thing is like, I love to dance. And so I make sure to include dance into my day and into my life. I'll go dancing a lot. And that helps me, get out of that masculine and into the feminine and, just also trusting the process that's unfolding, because the masculine is very linear, right? And so recognizing that when we open up space even though maybe things aren't aligning or manifesting in this exact moment the way we want them to, and that, how in linear terms,
Right.
the universe doesn't work that way, right? And so we might just need to stop and take a breath and pause and just reflect and, be okay with things not always manifesting, exactly the way we think they should, or so
Yeah.
like, so really tapping into the feminine principles of flow and working divinely with the universe.
Right. I think that's a really great point of oftentimes when we do create goals and then create all these steps to achieve the goals, it has a very linear, straightforward feel. And as many of us know who've lived a few years on this planet, it doesn't always go that way. Sometimes it does, and great, celebrate it. Um, but oftentimes I'm really learning to have a vision for the outcome that I want and slowly letting go of all the tiny little how-tos. And I think
Mm,
that's what you're mentioning with like flow. For me, this surrendering process, this word is coming up a lot for me, knowing it's safe to surrender to this more feminine or divine wisdom that I seek, even in very practical matters like my business. Yes, I do need to set financial goals and practical goals for it. And I also lead from this heart space of,
mhm,
okay, I can also let go of those specific goals and be open to whatever needs to flow in, whether it's a person or an idea or a new online course or whatever that might be, just to know that it is taken care of. But it just might not go exactly how I would do it in my rational mind planning.
mhm. Yeah, and that comes, with that trust, right? We don't have to
Yeah.
always know the how. The universe will take care of that, and things will manifest as we're ready to receive them too.
Mm,
But it's really connecting with that heart-centered place. And, that's why I think it's, coming back to our values and our personal inner and outer statements, how we want to really show up in the world and how we want to feel. And so having that outcome in mind, this is what I want to create, the universe helps to support that because they know that your intentions are good, and they want to support you for, the greater good of all, right? And so I think it's really important, that's where that, I think, soul centered, that heart desire comes from, because that's not only serving you as an individual, but it's also serving the planet, and the planet needs all of us right now to step into our truth.
so true. It's very, very true. So, kind of continuing this idea of the balance of masculine and feminine, having a sankalpa or a theme, and then creating specific goals, being open and to how the divine spirit, God, whatever you would like to call it, actualizes those things that we are desiring. And for me, it becomes a daily practice to connect to spirit. Uh, for me, oftentimes that's having a regular meditation practice. There is a specific goal that I want to create in my life. Visualization meditations are kind of my go-tos. So giving myself, and they don't have to be long, like few minutes tops, but just so I just kind of close my eyes down and visualize in as much detail as I can. So if it's a specific health goal, visualizing myself as healthy and strong. I don't exactly always know how I'm going to get there. I don't know if it's going to be, oh, this program or this workout or whatever it might be, but just visualizing how I will feel and even bringing my senses in, like what does the food taste like that I'm going to eat that makes me this, optimal, healthy person, and trying to create as much detail. And then usually at the end of my visualization, I do either just like open my hands up and release it. I let that visualization dissolve as kind of this sign as like, okay, universe, here's what I desire. But if you've got a better plan or a better, even than what I can think of, it's yours. Like, take it.
Hmm.
So that's kind of a general process of how I use visualization for
Yeah.
manifesting specific goals when I have those.
Yes, absolutely. I do something very, very similar. I think it's all, it's all about the feeling. The feelings is what are going to are what is going to magnetize
Yes.
the thing you want to create, right? And if you feel healthy, like what does optimal health feel like in your body? Like I just
Right.
like feel into that and then I like allow the energy and movement to come through my body where it just radiates through me and then just imagine like all my cells like vibrating at a like high frequency level. And I do that with everything. And so just on top of that, like I imagine I am a magnet and I
Mhm.
am magnetizing the thing that I want to create in my life. So I am, the energy field that is allowing that to come into my life. And so when you're a human magnet, you know, magnetize, exactly what you want. It's powerful exercise to do. I love it.
It is. It is very powerful work. And yeah, we'll start wrapping up with that. So listeners, be the human magnet. If you take anything away from today's conversation, and we'd love to hear what is your vision for this new year? What are you calling in? And do you have an inner and outer mission statement? Come find us on Facebook or communicate with us at Be the Love Podcast. And if you have enjoyed listening to our show, please share the love by sharing it with your family and friends, giving us a 5-star written review on iTunes and Spotify, or liking us on Facebook. And I am Brenda Carey. And as a holistic healer, I offer coaching and online programs to guide people in their sacred path to vibrant health. My website is sacredpathyogaandreiki.com.
And I'm Stacy Musial, and I'm a psychotherapist specializing in whole person, deep soul healing. You can find out more about my work, my book, and programs at awakenyourempoweredsoul.com. You can check out our links in the show notes. Please consider supporting our mission to awaken our souls with a monthly donation that will help with the operating costs of this podcast so we can continue to spread the love. To contribute, visit our Patreon website at patreon.com/Be the Love Podcast. Stay tuned for more episodes being released on Mondays at 5:55 a.m. Mountain Time.